Hey everybody, welcome to Ellis Mowers. I appreciate y'all watching the channel as always. Got a PYT9000 Craftsman here behind me. This is another mower that has come in that has actually been sitting a while that the guy wanted me to fix. He found me just randomly on Facebook, believe it or not. He's like, I don't even know how I found you. But what happened was he has a business, and the business grew to the point where he ended up hiring a lawn service out so he wouldn't have to spend the time cutting the grass. This I don't think has got a lot of hours on it. It's been sitting up for a little while, and we've got a little bit of a mouse slash rodent infestation inside and under the engine, or at least a nest has been made. Hopefully some lunch hasn't been had with some wires. If not, or if so, we're gonna have a lot of fun with this thing. Anyways, I picked it up yesterday. Tires are still holding air. It's just really dirty from where it's been sitting under a tarp for quite a while, and we just have to figure out what we need to do in terms of getting it running first off, and then just doing some service items, because he actually provided a lot of the parts that we need for this mower to get it back going again. Super nice Craftsman. I'll give you a look around it after I get it off the trailer here. But yeah, told him about what figure it was gonna need to get fixed, and he said if it was twice that much, he still wanted it fixed. So this one's definitely getting fixed either way. So if you have any questions about this video, feel free to reach out to me, Ellis at ellismowers.com, or at ellismowers09 on Instagram and Facebook. I'll get this thing off the trailer, we'll give it a look and go ahead and get started on it. I don't think it's going to be as bad as it looks. Like I said, the wild card is going to be whatever the rodent decided to get under the engine shroud. Let's go ahead and get started. Let me give you a walk around of this Craftsman. I've got it off the trailer. It has been about 3 days and the tires are staying up, which is nice. I will put a little bit of ATF in at least, I'll probably put them in all 4. Just to help keep them so they stay up. He did give me a new tire to swap out if I needed to. Told him I probably would not have to, so it's kind of looking like that is the case, which is really nice. This one's got this is an upper level MTD Craftsman actually. It's probably on par with like a XT1 Cub Cadet, maybe even a little bit higher. Got electric PTO, 24 horsepower Briggs and Stratton. And then there's that nest that I was talking about that's been built up in there. So hopefully that is not indicative of what's underneath the shroud. Hopefully that's all that we've got. I doubt it though. Oil filter setup and all that good stuff. Massive, absolutely massive gas tank. And the gas in there is orange, so that's going to have to be cleaned out. A little bit of rust on the deck, not really a bunch of rot for all things considered. Got this nice push bar on the front. I believe that Nick from Bellport had one similar to this, except I think his was even higher level. The first one I've encountered like this. I've only had one MTD Craftsman. It was that LT2000 that I just did a video on actually not too long ago. But all the belts and the pulleys seem to be okay. Everything looks like it's going to turn for me, so that's good. Blades, they're okay. They'll give them a sharpen and be just fine. And I mean, everything overall is just dirty. Got the hydrostatic transmission on it. He gave me a belt to put on. I presume it's a deck belt. It's 2009 model. Model of the tractor. I don't like these seats because they don't like to fold all the way up. It's a 247-289-800. Got a battery back here, probably dead. Probably have to put a battery in it. Back tires are holding air. Hydrostatic transmission. Nothing really else to see here. Electric PTO. These Craftsman riders steer a lot easier than, say, the Troy belts, just the way that they build the front ends. A little bit heavier duty. So that's kind of what's going on with this thing. First order of business is I've got to get the cover off of this thing to see what we're dealing with here when it comes to what is under that shroud. So I'm going to take those bolts off, get under that shroud, see what we need to do when it comes to that. Well, it's time to get to work on this thing. I got it washed off. You can see how clean the hood is and just everything overall on this thing. It just had years of dirt just sitting on it, just from where it had been sitting under the tarp. I'm curious, I'd venture to guess how many hours this mower's got on it. The battery's from 2010, if that gives y'all an idea of how long it's probably been sitting. Probably been sitting about 7 years or so, if I were to guess. We have a little bit of surface rust here on the deck on this side, but really and truthfully, everything else looks good. I bet this mower don't have 30 hours on it, if I were to guess. We'll give it a check in a second. I am going to have to put a battery in it. The oil level is decent. Like I said, I don't think this thing's got 30 hours on it, truthfully. We're going to get the mouse nest out of here. To get this off, 4 5/16, and then I think we got to take the air filter off too to get down here to see what we've got going on. It's a bunch of 10 millimeters on the side though, and 10 millimeters to take the fuel pump bracket off. Actually, I don't think I have to take the fuel pump bracket off for this. That air filter is one of the bigger air filters, so I don't know if he got the right one or not. There went a roach as well. Who knows what might be under this thing. So you have all these 10 millimeters on the side right here. A couple in the back, a couple on that side. And then it looks like 1/4 inch right here as well. And then that should allow us to take off this cover. And we'll see what's underneath once I get to that point. Alright guys, this is where we determine if this is going to be probably a cheapish repair or an expensive one. So we're just getting this top cover off. And you can see, look at all that right there. The depth of it comes up all the way to the top of the engine shroud. All the other bolts are off or loose, so we should just be able to pull this thing up. And we hope that there is not chewed off wires and stuff in here. And I think we actually are lucky. That's good. So it looks like the mouse nest was resorted to just this area where the fan shroud is, which is good. I'll get some, we do have a couple of squirrel nut areas right here. We'll clean that up. And a couple little areas here. We've got this, obviously, probably need to look at it. If not replace it, honestly, with it sitting for so long. I think we can save it though, if I were to guess. It's got the plastic intake on it versus the metal. What a lot of times I like to do is take off the 10 millimeters or 3/8 for the intake themselves, and then you can get your linkages and fuel line and stuff off and kind of work with that. But first order of business is getting this cleaned up. I don't see any wiring issues, which is good. I was afraid, really afraid that we were going to have wiring issues here. Hopefully the starter's not stuck. Starter looks good, so that's good too. Looks like somebody attempted to start it in its current state or with a low battery or something. I was told that he had a mobile mechanic come look at this, and I don't remember what he told me. Told him all that it needed, but that's beside the point. I'll clean this up, and then we will probably move on to the carburetor after that. Well, we got it cleaned out, as you can see right there. I have put a new battery. It's 1 year old, and a 300 cold cranking amps, and I'm just kind of turning it just to make sure everything seems tight, or everything seems free, and nothing crazy going on. I don't feel anything crazy, so we're going to spray some starting fluid in it, see if it'll at least get off here. What do y'all think? You think it'll at least start up? It will if I get a key for it. Stand by for a second. Alright, I have disconnected the fuel line from the fuel pump so it doesn't pump this old gas in too. Starter solenoid. You hear it? Oh, by the way, I was a little bit low on the hours, but it has 51 and a half hours on it. So, not brand new, but it doesn't have a lot at all. Let me get that starter solenoid swapped out, which means I have to take the battery back out. Headlights are shining bright, so I know it's got 12 volts on it. Let me show you how to swap the starter solenoid. We ain't got a lot of time in this yet. So on these MTDs, they're at the back of the mower. Took the battery out already. We're going to take the battery tray out as well. And then what it is the solenoid is in the back here. On the back side right here where these two bolts are. You can actually access it better on this than most others. So what we got to do is get a 3/8 in there to unscrew the solenoid from the back side. Take off these ground wires that are on the solenoid, because this has got to be a 3-pole if the ground wires are like that. No, this is actually a 4-pole. So we're just gonna back here. I know access is kind of hard. I'm disconnecting the post for the solenoid for like the ground wire and the safety switch wire. Let me get my other hand in here. You could also wait to do that until after, but I don't know if y'all can see very well. Those are those posts that I'm talking about. So I'm just disconnecting them. We're going to get a 3/8 in there. And these down here, it looks like they're 7/16. Those poles to get off the positive wire from the battery going to the starter. So that's what I'm going to work on. That's how you take them off. And we'll get another 4-pole solenoid in here. 2 3/8 that mount them. Mount the solenoid to the frame. You have that ground wire on the left side. They're the green wires. Make sure those go back on. Otherwise, you're going to have an issue with melting wires. And then you have your 2 big positive wires from the starter and from the battery, if that makes any sense. I'm going to swap that out. I'll show you the final setup, and then we'll see if we can get this thing to start. Alright, back in. We got the new one on, the replaced one, and put it bolted back in. Again, I don't know how well the camera's going to show you down here. There are 2 separate wires that you need to put back on that mounting post. For the ground, you have your 2 wires that you plug into your 4-pole solenoid, and then you have your battery wire and you have your starter wire that go on the big posts. So that's where we're at. I'm going to put battery in, see if we can get this thing started. Alright guys, we're going to try this again. I tried the new solenoid on camera and it works. So let's see what we can do to get this thing started. Wanted to. low throttle too. One more time here, real quick. That's all we needed to know right there, didn't we? So now it depends on how bad it is. We're gonna roll in here under the starter, or excuse me, under the bowl. Take this off, which is just your solenoid for your anti-backfire. It runs good, and then we just need to take this off. But that involves getting, man, I don't even know what you can do to get that off right there. Is that even able to be taken off? You see that? I don't know if that's a wrench or a needle nose pliers or something along those lines. But let me see if I can get that solenoid off and see if we can get this bowl drained out. I might be able to get away with not having to clean the carb on this. I doubt it though, but we're gonna try it because it's a little bit involved to take this carb off. So sometimes I like to try and cheat on these V-twins so I don't have to take this whole intake off. I have taken the gas tank off as well while y'all weren't looking. It's just two 10 millimeters that go on this one at the top. You take those off, the bracket slides out on each side, and you can just kind of pull the tank out. And I just disposed of the old gas. We will put a fuel filter on this as well. But we're going to take the fuel line clip off here if it'll allow me to. Funny thing is, I remember when Sears was selling these, so I was like, oh, yellow and black mower. I think even on clearance when all the Sears were closing, these things are still like $1,800. So I was like, whoa. Now you can't get them riding mower for less than that. Funny how things change over time, right? We gotta break off this, or break this rubber loose. There we go. Now we should be able to slide it out. A lot of times what I do, hopefully the fuel pump's good. Ain't pumped fuel in forever, has it? But what I do a lot of times is take these Phillips here. They may be JAS screws, I'm not sure. Take these off, and that removes the top part of the carburetor. You can actually get to a couple of the jets right there. I think what I'm going to do is spray some carb spray in those jets and see if I can get them going. So I'll take these off real quick. Recommend screwing them back in with a screwdriver. And so that gets those three screws off. Don't lose them like I'm trying to. Butterfingers, Butterfingers. Whew. So that gets you access to the top side here. A lot of times what I do is I'll take some carb spray, spray down in these jets here, especially right there. I don't suspect that this is gummed up terribly bad, but I'm trying to make it so that I don't have to take the whole carb bowl off, which I think I'm going to have to do anyways. Either way, that had to come off, so spray some Carb Cleaner in these holes. One of the saving graces of this Might be that it was a fuel pump. So just kind of depends on how much gas was in there in that fuel pump. I'll spray some directly into this inlet hole too, just to see what I can do. I know that goes down to the needle and seat, but so I've got everything hooked back up. I'll put this back on real quick, prime it up, see if we can get, put some gas in it, prime it up, see if we can get some fuel flowing through this carburetor. Put these 3 screws back on via a screwdriver and crank it up, see what we got going on. I mean, if it runs, that'd be awesome. I highly doubt it. I think we're going to be taking off this intake to get the carb off. Alright guys, we're going to try it one more time before we take the whole carb off. We know we're getting gas in there. It's just a matter of, does it get pulled up through the jets now that we've cleaned out the bottom of the bowl. I'm going to prime it about maybe 2 or 3 times to get fuel back into the carb here and see if it'll run. Was actually not expecting that. That's really nice. So it looks like we will not have to go in this thing overall. I'll go ahead and put on the engine covers, because if you run these for very long without the engine cover on them, it's not getting the right air. It'll start to overheat. On accident, I pulled the PTO clutch and it didn't go. So I'm wondering if, or the PTO switch, I'm wondering if you have to be sitting on the seat for that to work. Otherwise, it just overrides it or something along those lines. We're going to get this thing out and test it here in just a second, though. Hydrostatic belt looks good. Deck belt actually looks good. So I think we're going to be okay on that. I don't think he gave me the right deck belt to change out. But I am going to get the covers and stuff back on it. I'll get it out here in the driveway, and we're going to take it up and down the driveway for a spin to see if it runs and drives like it should. One other thing I forgot to mention is I put ATF in these 2 front tires. I may have put them in all 4 because they were leaking down a little bit. He did give me a new tire to swap out if I needed to swap it out. Right over there. I don't think I'm going to have to, because these have been holding for about 3-4 days now and are doing just fine. They're still in really good shape. Like I said, the mower's only got 51 hours on it, so it's not really that busy, or not that well used at all. So put the covers on, we'll take it for a spin. Well, we're about to take this back off again. Probably ran for about 10 minutes or so, and then started bogging down and purged a bunch more dirt out of the carburetor. So we're gonna take this carb off. This is the way I usually do it. Hopefully I can show you all relatively easily how I do this. I tried to try that trick I did with the solenoid one more time, and it just isn't gonna happen. So we're gonna take this out and give it a full clean while we're here. Put some new gaskets and seals on it as necessary. So, yeah, fuel line's coming off here. Gas looks good in it, obviously, because I drained out the tank. There's nothing left in it. I don't think there's any water in it or anything like that. The thing that's somewhat difficult here is that we've got this intake, and it's best to just take the whole intake off when you do this, and then kind of finagle the throttle and choke cables to get them off. So in order to do that, we do need to get some 3/8. A ratcheting wrench is easiest, I think, on these, which I have here. I guess they're 3/8. They might be 10s. No, they're 3/8. And you're going to slide. Well, of course it won't slide in there, but I'm going to take them off. It's 2 on this side, 2 on that side. I'm going to do those and rejoin you when I finish those. Alright guys, I am back. There's a cable down here, or a linkage, that just pulls right out. I don't know if that's the choke or the throttle. One of the two. I think it's the throttle linkage on that side. And so that linkage can just dangle because you can't get it off because of the angle of the intake as I'm panning up. And y'all not able to see it. But under here we've got the choke linkage that we got to get off as well. And what I've done is I've taken just 3 out of the 4 bolts off. And we're in the process of taking the last one off here on the bottom right. I'm doing this on camera because I don't know exactly how it's going to show whenever I get it off here. Okay, so we've got it off, and it looks like what I need to do here. On this side, we just need to work the linkage. I'll at least do my best to show you how to work the linkage to get it off, or work the carburetor. So let's see. So we've got a breather pipe we got to take off, and that gets us right here. So now it looks like we can just take this all the way over, pull this out, and you've got your linkages off. And they're dangling here, but they're not going to go anywhere because they don't really have anywhere to go because of the intake on it. So now I'll take it over the bench and turn it around, turn it upside down, and we're going to take the bowl off of it and see what we can do when it comes to just putting a new, or see how bad inside is, and we'll clean these top jets out one more time as well while we're here. Give y'all the aerial view while we're working on it. My dad's borrowing ultrasonic to clean some car fuel injectors, So what I got here is just some carb spray. We're going to see what we can do. We're going to get this bowl off. See how bad it is up underneath here. Why it doesn't want to come off. There we go. So it kind of looks a little, this is one of the nickies here, so it kind of looks like, what do we need to do to get this off? That's that. We had a little bit of junk up top here. Probably from some junk in the jets right there. All in all, it kind of seems like it was working okay. And these V-twin carbs take nothing for them to not run right. Just seems like the jets are so small. I guess so, because it's 2 cylinders, you only get just a little bit more power out of it than a single. So now it's just time to throw some carb spray and some stuff here. And I got it right here. We're going to get all this junk out of it. So that's good. Let's see how these jets are. Feel good, at least. That's good. We got. Where does that come out of? Oh, that comes out of right there. Okay. So those feel strong. Oh, we could take. Okay, here we go. So we could take these out. Very carefully, very carefully. And work on them. Aha, okay. Now I remember. It's been a hot second since I've done this, guys. So we've got these jets here. A lot of times what I'll do is I'll take a wire as well. I'll take them in here. Well, I can already see these things are bigger than they were. I'll just take a wire. What that does is it kind of gets rid of some of the loose particles that might be sitting on the edge of the brass jet. You can kind of see, I don't know if you can, how well you can see that in there. If you can see the difference between the sizes of the 2 jets just by me pushing some brass or pushing some wire up through there. Especially if it's got a couple of bends in it, you can kind of work it through. And get those jets nice and clean. Just like that. Those jets already can see are a lot larger than they were. Probably could even go on the right side a little bit more with some wire still. It's an intricate process, some of these carbs here, so kind of have to get it right. Get a nice clean or a towel or something along the lines. Make sure you don't have all that gunk and stuff up in there. We're going to take these are the hardest because you got to get in here. See if you're getting carb spray through each jet here. And you are. So that's good. And you've got your tubes there. To clean out. That seems like we've got it clean. These jets seem like they were getting really clogged up and weren't open very much. And now they're open pretty good. We've got a lot of junk just sitting here in the bottom of this bowl we're gonna try and clean out. A lot of times I try and clean it out with a wire brush. That's probably what was pulling sediment and stuff in there. It's going to be hard to clean with a wire brush because of the way that this bowl is shaped. But I'm going to do that. Y'all saw how I took it apart. I'm just going to go ahead and put it back together after this. Clean up the needle a little bit. And go ahead and I think that's going to fix our issue, honestly. So, and if not, we'll have this thing back apart again. Y'all going to be like, I told you so, you needed to do this. So we'll keep on working on this. I'll put it back together. Remember, you're going to put your throttle or your choke linkage on first. Your throttle linkage could come last. So, like I said, pretty sure this is the throttle linkage here because it's on the back side of the intake. No, that's that would be the choke linkage, wouldn't it? So I had the linkages mixed up. I apologize. You take the choke linkage off, the throttle linkage is the thicker of the two, alright? So keep that in mind. Catch y'all in just a second. Alright, let's see if it'll run better now. Take a second to crank up. So basically the lesson learned here is don't take shortcuts trying to clean the carb. Just take it off and just do it. Lesson learned. Get the cover and stuff back on. I am going to go cut some yard with this. I want to make sure that it'll stay good for the long haul. And probably wrap this video up here in a few minutes. Well, I think we're done with this. I just cut the front yard. Did excellent. Let's see if it'll just crank on idle again. It's running really good. One thing I did do is I put new blades on it because it had an issue with one of the blades being bent. Cut my yard fine, but then when I looked, it cut nice and even too, but when I looked at it, it had, like I said, it had an issue with a blade and it was sticking down below the deck, and I didn't want to have any issues with it. So I swapped the blades out after I finished cutting grass, and it should be good now. So I'm glad for this. The guy, to leave it in storage for 9 years, did a pretty decent job. I think he had it mostly in a shed up until recently, and then he had to pull it outside and put it under a tarp. And so that's why the tires aren't really that bad. Like I said, I put ATF and stuff in the front tires, and they've been holding air just fine. The belts are still good. He gave me the wrong belt, so I'll just have to tell him that they didn't need belt changes. And this is not going to have a lot of money in this getting it back going from where it's been sitting a while. I'm probably about right on the budget that I told him that it was going to be, which is good. Biggest thing was just getting that carb situated. I thought that I could make some shortcuts. I couldn't, so we had to take the carb off and clean it completely. No big deal at all. It needed to happen anyways with the amount of time that this had been sitting. Luckily, this had a front mounted gas tank. We didn't have to go in and do a bunch of stuff in the lines and take out the back fender to get the fuel lines and stuff off of this thing. So good in that aspect too. Yeah, so like I said, I think that's pretty much done here, y'all. Y'all saw everything I needed to do to it. I greased up the front end a little bit and put a battery in it, changed out the starter solenoid, cleaned the carburetor, and changed the oil. She's running good again. Hope y'all enjoyed this video. This, like I said, it's an MTD Craftsman, but it's fairly decent, honestly. Built much better than most of the Troy builds that are out there, and Boland's and all that stuff. So they tried to put this up on, I guess, Cub Cadet quality, and they didn't do a bad job. It's nowhere near as good as the AYP Craftsman's still, but with the Hydro Trans, it's a little bit easier to change deck belts on it or drive belts on it. And then you have the PTO, which is kind of interesting since it actually wouldn't even engage a safety when I turned it on originally when I was off the mower. You actually have to be physically sitting on the mower in order for it to even engage, or for the safety to even kick in, which is kind of interesting. I'm sure that's in place so that if you're off the mower and even when you pull the PTO, that it won't try to engage the blades in case you have your foot under it or something, I'm sure. But I hope y'all enjoyed this video. This has actually turned out to be a really nice PYT9000 Craftsman. I'll give you one last look. I don't know if I showed it to y'all in its full glory with the hood and stuff on. It almost looks new. It almost looks like it came off the showroom floor. With 50 some hours, this guy's gonna, as long as he keeps up the maintenance and stuff on it, he's not gonna have an issue with it for a while, I think. So thank y'all again for watching. And if you have any questions about this video or any video you see on the channel, reach out to me, Ellis at ellismowers.com, or at ellismowers09 on Instagram and Facebook. And I will catch y'all on the next video. See you then.